Have you ever wondered how a single event can change the course of history? Picture this. An unseasonably warm day in the Mediterranean Sea, a US warship is stationed, a symbol of power and prestige. Suddenly, out of the blue, the unthinkable happens. An attack, not from a known adversary but from an ally, Israel. This incident, a jarring anomaly in the otherwise tight-knit relationship between the US and Israel, occurred without any apparent provocation. The American warship, a beacon of might and authority, was caught off guard, its crew scrambling in confusion and disbelief. The date of this startling event? Let's rewind to a few weeks ago. The location of this unexpected attack was the Mediterranean Sea, a region known more for its azure waters and rich history than for being a battleground of allies. The American warship, a mammoth structure of steel and firepower, was there as part of a larger deployment, a show of solidarity with Israel amidst rising regional tensions. The surprise attack by Israel, an ally with whom the US has shared a close and supportive relationship, was met with shock and bewilderment. The warship was not in a conflict zone, nor was it engaging in any aggressive maneuvers. It was simply there, a silent sentinel in the vast expanse of the sea. Now, was this a simple mistake, or was there a hidden agenda behind it? Let's delve into it. Nothing in politics happens by accident, so what was the real motive behind this attack? To unravel this mystery, we delve into the archives of history, sifting through documents and reports that provide a glimpse of the global political scenario during that time, a period marked with tension and a world on the brink of chaos. One possible motive behind this attack could have been a power play. Israel, a relatively small nation in the Middle East, had always been in a precarious position, surrounded by countries with differing ideologies. The attack on the American warship could have been a bold statement of power, a declaration to the world that Israel was not to be underestimated. Another possible motive could be linked to the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict. With the United States' unwavering support for Israel, this attack could have been a calculated move to provoke the US into taking more aggressive action against Hamas. This would align with the reports of the US extending its military deployment around Israel during that time. Or perhaps the motive was purely strategic. The Middle East, with its vast oil reserves and critical geographical location, has always been a hotbed of geopolitical struggles. By attacking an American warship, Israel could have been attempting to assert its dominance in the region, aiming to influence the power dynamics in its favor. But these are merely conjectures, educated guesses based on the information available. The true motive, known only to the architects of this attack, might forever remain shrouded in the annals of history. However, such a drastic action surely had its repercussions. Let's see what they were. What happens when an ally turns into an adversary, even if momentarily? The attack's aftermath was a whirlwind of chaos, confusion, and heartache. The casualties were numerous, a grim tally of lives lost and infrastructure damaged. The USS Gerald R. Ford, a symbol of American might, was compromised alongside the USS Normandy and several guided missile destroyers. The human cost was even more devastating, with countless servicemen and women caught in the crossfire. But let's step back for a moment and consider the potential benefits Israel might have been seeking. Was it a strategic move, a power play in the face of escalating tensions with Hamas? Or was it a message to the world, showcasing their military prowess and determination to safeguard their nation regardless of who stands in their way? The international reaction to the attack was a mixture of shock, disbelief, and condemnation. Nations across the globe scrambled to respond, their diplomatic relations put to the ultimate test. Some called for immediate action, others urged for calm and careful investigation before passing judgment. The United Nations was thrown into a frenzy, with member nations torn between their alliances and the pursuit of justice. In the midst of the turmoil, 2 American hostages were released by Hamas. This act, though seemingly small in the grand scheme of things, underscored the complex web of political and military strategies at play. Was it a bid for sympathy, a desperate attempt to shift the narrative, or a calculated move in a much larger game? The attack also exposed the fragility of international alliances and the thin line between friend and foe. It served as a stark reminder that in the world of geopolitics, interests often supersede ideals, and alliances can be as volatile as the conflicts they seek to resolve. The world watched in shock and awe, but how did the 2 main players react? Let's find out. How does a nation justify an attack on a friend? This is the question that reverberated within the walls of Israel post the attack. As we delve into Israel's official stance and reaction, we find a landscape of political maneuvering and a public grappling with the reality of their actions. Israel's government was quick to maintain its firm stance, articulating that their actions were a necessity, a response to an immeasurable threat. Their official press releases echoed the sentiment of self-defense, emphasizing that the actions taken were not against the US, but rather against the imminent danger they believed was posed by Hamas. The Israeli Prime Minister, in his address to the nation, reiterated this stance. He stated, "We value our relationship with the United States, and the steps we have taken were not intended to harm this relationship." He went on to assert that Israel had acted in its own self-interest, as any sovereign nation would under the perceived threat of a terror attack. But what about the people of Israel? How did they react to this unexpected turn of events? Public sentiment varied greatly. Some stood by their government's actions, believing in the necessity of self-defense. Others questioned the wisdom of attacking a powerful ally, voicing their concerns through various public platforms. The Israeli media played a crucial role in this discourse, presenting a mix of perspectives that reflected the nation's divided sentiment. While some outlets staunchly defended the government's actions, others criticized them, igniting passionate debates that continue to this day. Amidst this whirlwind of reactions, Israel continued its diplomatic efforts, seeking to mend the strained relations with the US. They extended an olive branch, expressing their desire to work towards rebuilding trust and strengthening their alliance. But this is only one side of the story. Now that we've heard from Israel, what about the US? When a friend turns foe, even momentarily, how does a nation respond? In the wake of the unexpected attack, America found itself in a precarious position. The US government under President Joe Biden faced a crisis of diplomacy, a test of alliances, and a challenge of public sentiment. The administration's official stance was clear, a resolute commitment to Israel's security, but with a caveat of caution, a plea for peace. In public statements and press conferences, the president vehemently condemned the attack, expressing unwavering support for Israel during these troubling times. He committed to providing military assistance, sending Navy ships and planes in a show of solidarity. Yet, amid the stern rhetoric, there was also a message of restraint. The president warned Israel not to be consumed by rage, likening the Hamas attack to the tragic events of 9/11. The public reaction in America was a mirror of its diverse and divided society. On one hand, there were those who stood firmly with Israel, echoing the administration's stance of unwavering support. Yet there were also voices of dissent, young American liberals, some lawmakers, and global leaders who questioned America's role and responsibility in the conflict. In the face of criticism, President Biden made a wartime trip to Israel, becoming the first US president to visit during a war. The trip was not just symbolic but strategic, an effort to reaffirm US commitment to Israel's security, rescue American hostages, and negotiate a peaceful resolution. The aftermath of the attack also saw America's humanitarian side. Despite vetoing a UN Security Council resolution calling for a ceasefire, the US provided $100 million in aid to assist Palestinians in Gaza, and applauded the passage of aid trucks into the region. This event, like many others in history, serves as a reminder that in politics, the line between friends and foes is often blurred. But it also underscores the complexity of international relations, the delicate balance between diplomacy and defense, and the enduring value of peace in a world often torn by conflict.